wanna pop a bottle off of your chain swinging, clang clang, and it costs a lot.
With exactly 1 week to go for the Indian Turf Invitation Carnival in Calcutta, TCG Studios caught up with some pretty serious racing professionals to discuss and debate the potential outcome of the usual group races on the weekend.
Bitch, I'm always up to Guala, yeah, and you are not badass beat. Keep on going till you hit the spot.
We are joined today by the jockey who has won the most number of group races on this weekend in the history of this game. The racebooks call him Vaya Srinath, but everyone calls him Chiku, and he's ready to talk racing. The defending champion owner of Kangra, who won the Invitation Cup the last time it was run in Calcutta, the owner of Broadacre Stud Farm. Here's Marty Mahindra. He's won the Bangalore Summer Derby. He's recently won the Indian Derby. Our top trainer of horseflesh, Arjun Mangalorkar, joins us. You know him as a breeder, a racing administrator and manager par excellence, a visionary in the sport, and a man who seriously knows his horses. Zaid Mirza is here. And it's a true privilege to interview and talk racing with these stalwarts of the game. I'm TCG Studios host Nihal Saad. Let's get this debate started.
Clang clang, and it costs a lot. Bitch, I'm always up to Guala, yeah, and you are not badass beat. Keep on going till you hit the spot. Whoa, I'm a big bag hunter with the bow. She got a big bag, drop it low. Mama call me.
Well, Invitation weekend is upon us, and I'm joined by four of my favorite people in Indian horse racing. This is it, 2nd and 3rd March. We're going to discuss the 5 group races. Let's start off right away with the Sprinters Cup. So, gentlemen, let's start off with the Zaware S. Poonawalla Sprinters Cup. Let's start off with Mr. Mirza. What do you think are the contenders, prime contenders in this race?
Well, to start, I think it's a very ordinary year in terms of the Sprinters Cup. And so it's going to be a competitive race with very ordinary lot of horses.
And you think they're all equally ordinary?
Yeah, they're all equally ordinary, so it's going to be a competitive race.
Let's go straight over to the most winning jockey on Invitation weekend. Srinath, what's your take on this?
Well, again, just because it's, I agree with him there where it's in a year of ordinary horses, but it's all going to be how the race is run. It's all going to be down to the draw of this race, and who's going to lead and who's going to sit in the pocket, and whoever sits in the pocket in the 2nd, 3rd and 4th will probably have the best chance to come out and win in the straight. And it's all about the draw, I guess.
So you feel that Calcutta with the short straight, I mean, you've got to be up there as you come around the bend.
Well, right from the 5 furlong, you're turning all the time, and you're turning right till the last 2 furlongs. So if you are not in position, you don't have much of a chance. And I think the horses sitting in the slipstream in the 2nd and 3rd will have the best shot at this race. And it's all going to be about, it's not about who leads this race. It's always going to be about who's going to save their horse and come through that pocket and have that explosive turn of foot in the last. That's going to make a difference.
Arjun, Magelletto, Time and Tide, do you think they're going to cut pace for the lead?
It depends what they're drawn. It's impossible to say what the draws are at the moment. We'll just have to see the draws and who gets a good position. But my preference would go with the 2 Calcutta horses, Time and Tide and Cool Rider.
Right. Now, Mr. Mahindra, you've recently become a owner with Pacey Shroff. He brings over Democracy. She's a horse who's certainly improving with every run. What chances do you think she has in this Sprinters?
Well, I don't know much about Democracy except that she's run 2nd in the Shashi Jain, which is to me quite interesting because she doesn't have the rating and she still run there. But I truly, I don't know if she can, if Pacey can manage to get to compete competitively in this race. I feel, as Srinath has said, it's all about the draw, the short straight. I think I really like Siege Courageous. I think he's the horse I feel everyone has to beat. He's done nothing wrong. He's coming from Bangalore. He's got the form. Time and Tide, not necessarily, as you said, to be up and lead it, but these are the 2 form horses. I think Cool Rider is another good horse. It's, as Zen says, it's a pretty open field, but I would probably give it to these 3.
I'd like to say something here about Democracy. It's a very interesting campaign he's carried out with this filly. She was second in the Guineas, brought her down to 6 in the Shashi Jain competitive race. Always a pointer for the Sprinters Cup. From all reports, she hasn't reached Calcutta yet.
Yeah, she's on
So that is a bit of a question mark.
Yeah, we've also got a couple of other Bangalore ones. Isn't she beautiful? Broke the track record on debut. You got Ascoval, a horse that you could probably tell us a little bit more about. Do any of them figure in the shake-up, or is this basically just Siege Courageous versus Time and Tide?
Well, I think Siege Courageous will also be one of my prime contenders for this race, because he's just gone from strength to strength on each run of his, and his last outing was eye-catching. And I would put that horse in on the first on this list.
Right, gentlemen. Crunch time. 1-2 in the Sprinters, please.
Typically, the Sprinters Cup is won by an older horse. And what I see here is Magiletto and Siege Courageous.
Majula, you're 1-2.
I said it in my opening statement that it's between the two local horses.
Time and Tide, Cool Rider.
I would go with Siege Courageous, and let's give Ascoval a chance.
Let's give Ascoval a chance, Mr. Mahindra.
So now that you put me on the spot with Pacey, Shroff and moving, and now I'm training with him. So in case he pulls a rabbit out of the hat, I will go with Siege Courageous, Time and Tide, and give Democracy the absolute outside chance. Otherwise, I have to face them.
Well, so you heard it here from the consensus of this debate. We're going to go Siege Courageous, Time and Tide. Those are probably the two that you're going to see in the shake-up. Right, we move on now to the second Group 1 of the Saturday, the Stayers Cup. Let's start off, let's keep the same order. Mr. Mirza, what's your
So
choice?
this is a nice, interesting race. There's some good steers here. There's 3 that I think will be in the shake-up. Div, 3rd Avenue, who just won the Queen's Cup, getting 60 kilos, giving 10 kilos to the second horse, local horse, and Chamois from Bombay.
Right,
Depending on, now as we spoke earlier, his horses haven't yet traveled, but he's a very experienced trainer. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. So if that horse reaches Calcutta safe and sound, I think he'll be in the shake-up.
You know, now that you
So it's Div, 3rd Avenue and Chamois.
Now that you mentioned it, even when we were in Chennai, Pacey travelled really late. He hit Chennai also for the invitation just a couple of days before. So maybe he knows what he's doing when it
Sure,
comes
he
to
knows
that
what
kind
he's
of
doing.
late travel.
Problem is, I mean, look, we're dealing with weather here. The summers come early, it's really warm in Calcutta. It's a long way to travel from Bombay to Calcutta. So, it's always a risk.
Mr. Mahindra, do you concur with him?
Yeah, I think I'll have to go with exactly what Zen's saying. And I think what's also interesting is that, a horse like 3rd Avenue, he's another one like Siege Courageous who's done everything asked of him and is constantly improving.
And he's looking really well
Yeah.
right now. He's looking
So he's
million
the
dollars.
horse, I think, who's based there. He's definitely the one Diff and Chamonix have to, I think, beat.
Well, let's move to the defending Stayers Cup winning jockey. First of all, what does it take to win a Stayers Cup? Like, what's happening between the jockeys?
If I remember the race last year, where Chamonix also was there in that race, this race was run almost like in a strategy of we jumped out and we were riding a 6 furlong race. We were sitting in position, we didn't want to give an inch to anyone. And believe me, the entire race went around 3,000 meters. Right till the end, we hardly ever moved from our positions.
Yeah.
And I just about got up and beat Adiraj's horse on the post, and Chamonix was flying in the end. So I would say older horse, lucky winner. But this year, I would give Diff a great chance because he's on the up, and also this last start where he just went down to Juliet gives him the edge in this kind of a race.
Yeah, he might have run the invitation. I personally think he was good enough to run the invitation. It's logical that they didn't, because Jamari is there, they've chosen this. Arjun, your take on this race?
I tend to agree with Chiku here. I think Diff has been going from strength to strength. Having said that, 3rd Avenue showed some great form in Bangalore and has continued to maintain that form in the longer distance races in Calcutta. So, like as Chiku said, the last Stayers Cup was a 6 furlong race. If this is a true run 3,000 meter race, we could have an interesting finish. There are some very good stayers here, but I would go with Diff and Third Avenue for the 1-2.
So I think there's our consensus right there, gentlemen. Your Stayers Cup, we think it's going to be between Diff, Third Avenue and Chamonix, edge to Diff. Right, the Group 2 on Sunday, the race in memory of your father, Mr. Mahindra. Oh, and Mr. Mahindra also is the reigning Invitation Cup winner in Calcutta. So let's start with you on the Suresh Mahindra Trophy. Who do you think needs to be concentrated on?
From the looks of it now, I've heard that Siege Courageous is going to be running the sprinters and this race as a confirmed, is confirmed rather. So I think if he wins the sprinters, he will be carrying about, he'll get that penalty and he'll have to carry about 5-6 kilos. I mean, plus he's a Group 2 winner or Group 3 winner. So he will be a similar sort of scale as Ahead of My Time, who I believe is also running. But I think it's going to be competitive because the rest of them are all going to carry just around 52, 53. So I would still go with Siege Courageous as a horse ahead of my time. If he comes right, I think there will be no debate. He's in the shake-up.
Is Ahead of My Time doing this whole field a favor with his presence?
Looks like it. The weights might get compressed because of him going to top weight and he being the only Group 1 winner in this set. But let's look at...
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I forgot. I think the horse everyone has to consider and beat is Imperial Blue. I completely forgot that. Okay. I think he's the horse.
Now coming back to that, actually these Imperial Blue, Etosha, Savichik, Yukon, a lot of these horses have been prepared specially for this race. So, you know, taking nothing away from them, they have a great chance in this race as well because they're going to get 4-5 kilos from the top horse being Ahead of My Time.
Arjun, the last horse who attempted this unsuccessfully was multifaceted in Chennai. He won the sprinters. He couldn't carry the penalty into the Suresh Mahindra.
Yeah, well, it is going to be a tall task if Siege Courageous wins in the Sprinters Cup and then runs this race. I would give him no chance because by then the heat in Calcutta would really get to him and fatigue and the weight would take a lot out of him. So I would prefer to go with the horses basically trained for this particular race, that is Imperial Blue.
Yeah, Imperial Blue has been a very consistent performer through his career.
Yeah, he was. He lost his way after he came back from Ooty, which happened to Naughty Charmer also,
right, yeah.
Who lost his way in Ooty. So that's a strange place.
Windy roads.
Yeah, it's a strange place. But yes, I do give Imperial Blue a great chance in Suresh Mahindra.
Mr. Mirza, your take on the Suresh Mahindra?
Yeah, so another nice competitive race, very open. Ahead of My Time he's been a little...
You should know.
Lost his way a bit.
How's he doing right now?
He seems to be all right, but we'll have to see what happens in the race. I mean, he's going to give weight, and he's not been at the top of his game.
I think that
Siege
would be
Courageous,
because of them planning to go to Dubai. Both these horses have had an affected training schedule, that is Juliet and Ahead of My Time.
Right.
Because I think they were training reverse, and then now they got back to training. So we need to give Ahead of My Time concession for the loss of form this season, but he could probably pick it up.
Yeah, this is probably the weakest set he's taking on in a while.
yeah, true, but he needs to be at the top of his game also. Siege Courageous, as Arjun said, he's going to run the sprinters. There's a heat factor, there's lots of factors. If he wins the sprinters, he carries that additional weight. But irrespective, I wouldn't go with Siege Courageous, considering weather and things like that. I'll go with Imperial Blue.
Well, so Imperial...
He ran a great mock race the other day.
Yeah, he did.
Very impressive mock race.
Yeah.
So,
And as Arjun had mentioned earlier, Imperial Blue has beaten Siege Courageous, I think, earlier
In Bangalore.
On level terms.
I think it was in Chennai.
In Chennai.
Okay.
So, you know, that's a fact. If he, the issue is if he doesn't win the sprinters, And then he comes into this race. It's still that he's, again, it's the fatigue, it's the weather. So here, Imperial Blue definitely is the horse I think everyone has to beat.
Well, so consensus, guys, Imperial Blue is the...
Why haven't we discussed You Can?
Because
Can he? Can he?
well, the rider
You
of
should
UCAN,
know. You
the
should.
rider of UCAN is
If
right.
De Villiers, if Marthan
But
had
the
run
rider
De
of You
Villiers
Can
in
is
this
not riding
race,
You Can. So now what do we do?
Yeah,
No,
the most winning invitation cup jockey is not riding anything on the
Yeah,
weekend.
which is that's why I think I'll have to. If I had De Villiers and UCAN running this race, then maybe he would have been definitely there at the invitation
So
weekend.
you're giving him second choice.
No, the person who has to decide is my trainer, who has decided that he wants to separate the two and run one in the.
is this for passes?
On
So I
that,
think we'll have to ask Suleiman if he wanted passes. But,
More number of passes.
so I think I hope he runs well, but I don't think he has a really tall order to take on Imperial Blue, and if he's in the shake-up, that'll be interesting.
let's just say the consensus is Imperial Blue for the Suresh Mahindra. Very open after that.
So that passes.
Yes, I would say very open.
Right, gentlemen, we come to easily one of the most competitive races of this weekend, the Super Mile. And let's start off straight with Srinath. How do you think this race is going to be run? And how do you think this race is going to be won?
Well, this is an interesting race. In fact, one of the most competitive races. Here you have a couple of local horses. You have Destroyer and Star is Born, and Shamrock coming from the south. We have Naughty Charmer also coming from the south, and we have Mojito from RWITC. Well, it's plain to see that the horse like Destroyer having the early speed might take up the running, followed by Naughty Charmer. I'm sure they'll ride him a bit up with the pace, but it could also mean there are two horses who are like the seasoned milers in my opinion. That is Star is Born and Mojito. They will come with a real run down the straight. And if they can catch these two in front, it's going to be a hell of a race.
What is your opinion, gentlemen, all of this mock race that happened a few days ago? I mean, a lot of these horses were on display. What did you think of that mock?
Well, I saw the mock and I thought it was really interesting. And as Srinath said, now it's very difficult to say what weight everyone carried. And looking at the way the mock was run, there were top 4 horses running in Shamrock, Touch of Grey, Naughty Charmer and Star is Born. I thought Star is Born was the most impressive. He's come on the wide outside. Naughty Charmer, nothing to take anything away from him, also was very easy. So it's probably the most competitive race of the weekend. There's no debate on it. I mean, it's very interesting. And so, it's again, if one has to take a call, I would probably have to give it to Star is Born and Naughty Charmer. Now, from previous discussions with Zen and Srinath, I heard that Mojito is transformed with blinkers. Now, if that's happened, then he's right into the fray of things as well. So, so I think it's pretty much a really humdinger of a race.
Mr. Mirza, your take?
Yeah, so this is really a very, very exciting race. Some real crack milers here. Naughty Charmer, interesting, because he's last run a 12 furlongs. So coming down to a mile, I think it's going to raise a few doubts to my mind. He's running against some serious horses here.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to come down from a 12 to a mile. So that's
Yes,
the negative against him, besides the travel. Star is Born, going from strength to strength. He seems to love Calcutta. He's done a great mock race. The pace, of course, is going to tell. We know there's 2 front runners, Destroyer and Naughty Charmer. Let's see who destroys who. What happens there, we don't know. It's because both these horses take a bit of a, that Destroyer does take a bit of a hold. He does get keen. Mojito is the horse for me. I was very, very impressed with his last start in Bombay. Apparently they put blinkers on him, as you just mentioned. I thought that was a very impressive performance since the last time when he won here the Colts Championship.
Right.
So Shamrock is another horse who's in the shake-up. But if I were to put my sort of neck on the line, I'd go with Star is Born and Mojito.
Right. Arjun?
Well, no taking it away from Naughty Charmer. He's been one of the best milers in his crop. And now that he's facing older horses, it would be interesting to see how he handles himself with Mojito and Shamrock, who are exceptionally good horses. Star is Born, being the local horse over there, has adapted well to Calcutta and seems to be the king of Calcutta or the prince of Calcutta.
Yeah, he's unbeaten this season.
Yeah, so he's very much in the shake-up. It would be very, very interesting to watch the finish and just see all these horses charge down the straight in Calcutta with the backdrop of the Victoria Memorial.
We may have missed out one other filly called Philosophy, who actually has a very decent record coming from Bangalore. She's won her last start, a mile race, fillies and mares race from Chennai.
Yeah.
And it may not be such impressive timing, but this filly is on the up now, and she's won her last 2 starts. She may have a bold show in this race as well.
Yeah, there are 3 Group 1 winners in this race, Star is Born, Philosophy and Naughty Charmer. So you're right, she will be, and she's come on late in the season. She could be peaking at this time.
She could be peaking at this time. This might be the right race for her.
And the other thing is that with fillies, when they go off form, they really do. And when they come back, that's the time to capitalize. So if that's the time, maybe she could be right up in the shake-up. But it's a tough ask to me. I think it's a really competitive race, but she could be there.
I think she's still way off on the ratings.
Yeah.
Way off on the ratings from the other horses. And not an entirely sound filly. So that's the other sort of thing against her.
Right.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, most competitive race of the weekend. If we have to sum it up, slight edge to Star is Born from Naughty Charmer and Shamrock to complete the frame.
No, I would say Mojito.
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 Yeah.
Mojito.
Yeah, Mojito.
Let's not forget Mojito.
Mojito. So we come to our final Group 1, the big one, the HPSL Invitation Cup. And serious horses here, but do we look beyond Juliet? Can she make it? Can she do 3 in a row? Create history? She'll dethrone you. You tied with her.
Should I
right
go
now.
first?
Sure.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a great fan of this horse, but as you get older, your legs get more and more weary. Let's not forget that age is also a factor. To me, it's going to be one hell of a race. There's going to be good pace in this race with Champions Way. There's Jamari who's going to sit up with them. So I can see this race being run definitely around below 2:30, 2 minutes 30 that is. And yes, we also have a horse called Synthesis, which will be my pick for this race because I think he'll be in the right spot at the right place, and he gets the edge being a colt, and also I think the shorter straight might work in his favor, and the way this race is going to be run might play into Suresh's hands.
Arjun, you're pretty close to Miss Mehra. Synthesis had a setback in Bombay. Is that accurate?
Well, I really don't know what happened to Synthesis, but from the improvement from the Guineas to the Ruya to the Derby, these 3 races, the Ruya being the worst run of Synthesis, and the improvement that Synthesis showed in the Derby to just go down to Enabler by a narrow margin, and has covered about 5 to 6 lengths on Enabler in the Indian Derby. I also would tend to go with Synthesis being the number 1 horse, provided he's travelled well and has done everything, because we've just discussed this earlier that Calcutta is a strange centre.
Long place to drive. Yeah.
Long place to travel, and the straight being short wouldn't really suit Juliet's style of running. unless they change her tactics. And to change her tactics at this stage in her career would be quite interesting. All the other competitors in this race are all up with the pace, forward running horses.
Yeah.
Juliet is the only one that comes from off the pace. So they would have probably stolen the race away from her.
Yeah, the way the year Suraj is having, you wouldn't be surprised. Champions Way, Mr. Mirza, bred at your farm. In all probability, the Mount of Yash Naidu. He jumps off Enabler to get on. I mean, not jumps off. Poor Enabler found the travel a bit too much for his liking. What chances do this Champions Way have going to the front?
Well, it's an interesting race. It's very clear there's one front-running horse. There's a couple that like to run up with the pace, and there's some that come from behind.
Yeah.
But as we all know, that old saying, if there's two greys in a race, one wins. Juliet, I was very impressed with her run in the Eclipse in Bombay. I saw her in the paddock. I thought she looked a little heavier than she normally does. She's a small little filly and she doesn't carry much condition. Looked a little heavier. And she looked like she just sort of struggled to come home that day. I mean, she did win, but it was not an effortless win like she's done in the past. So after speaking to Karthik, he did say that she was about 15 kilos over her normal
Racing
racing weight. So she's going to come on from that run. She's going to come on from that run for sure. Synthesis ran a great race in the Derby. We don't know what happened between the Guineas and the Ruya, because in the Ruya he ran a little bit of a poor race. But report says he pulled up lame.
Yeah.
So there's a question mark about his soundness. Always has been. I think Rajesh has done a great job with whatever he's done with him, but there is a question mark. So, I mean, I'm just hoping Champions Way makes the running and keeps and runs away with it.
That would be so fantastic for
course
Sand
it would.
and for Kunigal, wouldn't it?
Yes, of course. So that's how it pans out. Touch of Grey is an interesting horse in the race as well.
Guys,
Very interesting horse.
Touch of Grey is my pick for this. I just think that he reminds me so much of Sir Cecil. He's such a nice
I think everyone's still
horse.
forgetting Jamari. She's done nothing wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
after her Bangalore Derby, that was literally the only time, and I've watched all her races. That was the only time I sort of saw her shoulders slump. I thought that Bangalore Derby really took a lot out of her. And it was a bit much, I always thought. Like, for Pacey to expect that she was going to do what Warhammer and Zuccarelli did, she just looked tired. It shocked me that in the last furlong, she was almost there to try and pull off that Derby. She's a really brave filly.
Yeah, what she ran in 8 days, and she
Yeah.
ran this kind of race.
And she's been on the go since
This summer.
last winter.
Yeah.
She's been on the go. Tough filly.
Mr. Mahindra, how do you see this one run out?
For me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Everyone has to beat Juliet. I think she will win this race. I'm with Zen. I think she hadn't run for 8 months. She was rusty and still she beat them. Now the question is, as Sheila says, in Cal, and as Arjun says, it's the short straight. Now this is where the jockey has to be positioned at the right place. He can't go too wide. He will have to make his run at the right time. If she does that, I don't see any of them beating him. The only one I think who can come close is Jamari, because to me, she's now becoming an amazing filly. From the way she looked here and she's performed and run in Bombay, she's up there with the pace. If any of these horses do it, I think, as you said, Jamari has to be in the shake-up. She has done everything what you'd expect. And she's still right there. I believe she's also looking very well. She's done well after the Derby. So for me, it's still Juliet, because I think she's only going to improve.
3 in a row.
And is it 3 or 4?
No,
Three
it'll
in
be
a
3 in a row, but if she
4
wins,
total.
don't be surprised if they keep her around for a 4.
No, but I think that
Let's hope they do keep her for 5 more years. But
because I think she's the one.
yeah, she has been the best filly in India by a mile.
And
for
I
her.
also was
That
one
one
of
race
In our
was a controversial
generation,
loss.
yeah.
The
In our generation,
Yeah,
she's
she
been
should
the-
have had her third. She should have
And I just
already had
wanted
her.
First
to say one more
invitation she
thing.
lost was a controversial
What about
loss.
adjudicate? She won't have
Exactly.
won.
Exactly. And one more thing, I told Gurpal for Touch of Grey, I said, if I was in your place owning him, I would skip the Indian Derby, keep him fresh for the invitation. Going from Bangalore. So he's again a horse who I think, and with their run of success, I think Mukteshwar is really up their game to the top end. So I wish them all the best, and I think he's also a horse who can surprise everybody there. Whether he gets that mile and a half genuinely or not is a question, but in Cal he can,
Yep.
is what I
He's done it in Madras. I think.
yeah.
He's
so I
done a
think-
228 in
Yes, so
Madras.
that's what I'm
so-
saying. So he's
Very,
another
very
horse.
well. So you can't
Yeah,
disregard.
so
And it's
exactly.
going to be fresh.
And nothing to take away from Synthesis too, because it's Derby run. So it's an interesting race. But
That's
I
a very
still
interesting
would
competitive
feel,
race.
Heart says Juliet, and I think till she gets beaten, I would probably stick with her.
I would agree with Marthan because she's India's favorite filly.
True.
Yeah.
And we all want her to win 3 invitations in a row. It would be a record.
It'll be a record, yes, no doubt about it.
And records are meant to be kept, are broken, sorry.
Broken, yeah.
Even if they're yours.
Records are meant to be broken. So let's hope with Juliet goes through.
So consensus, we say we're still going to give it slight edge to the wonderfully Juliet. Synthesis comes in, Jamari comes in, Touch of Grey is fresh. Champions Way is going to be coming around that bend first as they turn for home.
So
Very open
So
invitation.
looks like you've not missed a single horse in the invitation.
Very open
No, if
invitation.
Champions Way win, Zen is going to be breaking, I think, Bolt's record down the straight as well. So we'll have to keep a lookout for him in the crowd. But yeah, this is the fun of racing.
Are we missing one thing here? The Naridu racing factor, the kind of year they've had. Don't you think that factor comes in? Like you've got to give them that little bit of edge in the invitation.
I mean, their run has been, I think, short of
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Apart
been-
from
it's been-
Ganpati
it's been-
and Rashid
it's
Bairamji,
been sensational.
I don't see anyone
Yeah.
having
this
bought out
kind of year
this
that they've
kind
had.
of a
So
year.
that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying, let's go with Suraj on Synthesis so we cover ourselves. And Touch of Grey again with them, we've covered ourselves. So I suppose, yeah,
Just
they're
go with
right
all
there.
their horses.
All their horses.
So what makes you so sure Suraj is riding Synthesis?
Because
He said so.
No, he's got a choice of 3.
No.
and he could
He has
ride
a
any
choice of
them.
3.
Yeah, I
He has a
presume.
choice of
And
3.
I have probably presumed so far out. He in fact wrote Touch of Grey in the mock.
In the mock.
So you're right. There
Yeah.
we go. That he may, if
No,
he's
he did ride Touch of Grey in the mock,
He
and
did.
he's also said to me that this track will suit Champions Way the best.
Yeah, so I think
that's
it would
one
be
thing
interesting
that-
if he sits on Champions Way.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
That's interesting. So then we'll have to keep a small track for Mr. Zen Mirza from the top of the straight with Champions Way, and I think that's what's going to happen. So that'll make it even more interesting then.
Well, so then I think to sum it up, better to keep your hands out of your pockets and ready to clap because that's what this invitation cup is going to make you want to do.